Okay, so why am I banging on about beveling? I think it's a really easy and simple way of adding a bit of reality or realism to your scenes. I think it's a really nice way of separating yourself from the complete beginner. I think it's an overlooked addition to your modeling that really does make a difference. I think if you look around this scene and look at the objects that have sharp edges and the objects that have got the nice curved edges, it's that contrast between some of the objects in your room having sharp edges and some of the objects having round edges that just gives it a little extra edge, if you pardon the pun. Have a look around your room, your own physical environment. Some of the objects, the picture frames, areas within your monitor might have really nice sharp edges, whereas maybe the desk or the chair you're sitting on or the outer edge of your monitor might have a rounder edge. So just being aware of that, I think, really does give you an extra a little bit of an extra boost to your modeling. So there are two different ways that we can bevel in Blender. We can do it destructively or permanently, or we can do it non-destructively. So let's look at the destructive method first. That's what's happened here. So just using Control B on the original cube, I've added all this extra geometry. All these extra loops are part of the original mesh now. Whereas with a non-destructive method, the this non-destructive method has been turned off at some point. So turn it back on again. So this bevel modifier allows us to add, I'll just exaggerate the offset a bit more so you can see it, has allowed us to add the bevel effect, the rounding of these edges effect, but in a non-destructive way, in a non-permanent way. So anytime I can come back and switch that off, as I had done, just to compare it, or if the client comes back and says there's too much beveling going on, you can come back and you can turn it down. You can adjust the number of segments here at any time. Okay, so this is a non-destructive way. So we'll just look at those very quickly now. Clearly, there are better videos on YouTube already that go into more depth. I just wanted to give you a 5-minute overview just with a couple of tips, things that you can do while playing about with these operations. So the first destructive method, just tab into edit mode, and with your edges selected, Control B will give you the bevel operation, and then using the scroll wheel, you can scroll the wheel forward to add loop cuts and scroll it back to remove them. Okay, if you continue dragging your mouse outward from the center, it will get to a point where they start to intersect. So by default, this is what will happen. So one thing you can do whilst beveling is hit the C key. So C will clamp it, and it will prevent you from creating these face intersections. Another thing you can do would be to hit the V key, and that will bevel only verts. That's quite a nice addition. Let's turn the screencast. Go to the arrow. So hitting V whilst beveling is pretty nice. Let's go into orthographic view. Okay. What else can we do? We have the profile of the bevel, which is either concave or convex, essentially. So whilst beveling again, so Control B to bevel. I don't know why my screencast keys aren't showing up. Okay. Right, so whilst beveling, I've shown you V and C. We can hit P, and then we can change the direction of our the dragging that we're doing. We can either go convex, or we can drag back in towards the center of the object for a concave bevel. And again, we can add the resolution with the mouse wheel. And of course, we can do that to selected edges only. So Control B, add in our resolution, hit P to change the profile to go from that convex to a concave bevel. Okay, we can do that to multiple edges, of course. Okay, P. So a couple of things to play with the Control B bevel function. Now, of course, that is a destructive method. So we're making these permanent changes here to the object. Very quickly, we can use the bevel modifier to preserve the original geometry. So add a modifier under the little wrench icon here in object mode, bevel, and then we have same sort of settings, but in our dialog box here. Okay, so the offset is how large a bevel you're getting. So we can left click and drag to increase the size of the bevel. So that's just the same as left clicking and dragging in the 3D view. Clamp overlap, that's the setting I was talking about that we used the C key for, only verts. Tick that, that's the V key option with the destructive method. We've got a few other settings here, so we can change the number of segments over here. And of course, we can switch this off to check how it looks without the modifier. And then we can always come back. There's never really any real need to apply this modifier. There are very rare occasions where you do need to apply a modifier, but most of the time you can keep it live like this. So you can always come back and make adjustments. The other thing to mention is we were beveling only selected edges. That's a little bit more tricky with the modifier. We can limit the method. We can limit the beveling by weight. Haven't done this for a while. And then we can go to the item tab here. Is that right? In edit mode, the item tab. Yeah. And with the selected edges, so I had that whole face selected, we can change the bevel weight. We change that to 1. Because we're limiting it by weight, it will affect only the selected edges, turning that weight up to 1. So, is there anything else I wanted to say about beveling? Just have a look at the objects that you would like to make in your scene. Think about which ones can be beveled, which ones would you like to leave, which edges would you like to leave sharp. And like I said, I think that the contrast will make all the difference. Coming back to this file that I have open, the different bits and pieces that I've been messing about with whilst relearning 2.8. I think this is a good method for your environment draft, is to pull together, if you continue working on the assets that you made for the last task, make a few more assets and start compiling your environment draft from these modular assets. And you will begin to accumulate different bits and pieces within this file that you can pull in, that you can alter, and you can mess around with to your heart's content and reuse whenever you need a certain weird little object. All right, so I hope that helps. I'll do some more of these short videos with little tips. I'm going to do something on booleans next, I think. So thank you for watching.